Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're taking a beta look at the Monster Hunter Wilds review, and yeah, just some quick thoughts here. This won't take overly long. This is the gameplay from the actual beta, and so yeah, let's talk about it real quick. I was playing with Lion. He's more of a Monster Hunter fan, but yeah, I've added some of his stuff in here too as well. But yeah, overall, just to be straight with you guys, it's more Monster Hunter. It doesn't necessarily feel better, doesn't necessarily feel worse in any particular way. We'll go over a few things. But yeah, it doesn't really feel amazing or like really innovative. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just kind of somewhere in the middle. There's no new weapons that we know of. The gear really doesn't change. The map that we're testing on is actually quite large, but a lot of the space is just open and kind of empty. And you'll get to see that during the beta as well. And there's also not a lot of incentive to explore. And I think, Lion had a really good point. Just part of the reason why this is probably the case is because we get something to write on now for transportation to be able to get us from point A to point B in a quicker pace, which is nice. But then this also kind of takes away from engaging with the world and finding places. And our worry ultimately is just trying to imagine that if that's really the direction they wanted to go with the world design, then it changes the design of the map ultimately. And it ends up becoming a point to where it's just like you can explore, but you're not really rewarded for it. So there's not going to be a ton of incentivization there. And we already kind of felt like during the beta while we were playing. But yeah, the transportation is nice to be able to move around the map. It's that is pretty handy, and it's a lot easier to keep up beasts that way too. Don't have to try to track or anything, but again, that might also be kind of removed from the game. The fact that there may not be a lot of tracking, it's just you kind of moving into an area or getting an idea of where a beast is and then kind of just finding them out in the open. And man, if that's the case, that really kind of draws back from some of the experience that in previous Monster Hunter games. Also, too, getting friends to join into the game is not very intuitive. It's actually quite difficult. So there's a whole party system. You still have to use the SOS flare. There's also a whole thing with passwords. And there's a lot of menus to actually click and work through. And it's pretty challenging. I mean, we probably spent multiple minutes just trying to figure out exactly how to do it. Probably somewhere between 4, 5, 6 minutes. I ended up having a whole bunch of people join my game. Getting randoms to join, that's not the problem. It's actually getting friends to join. So that will take some time and some things to getting used to. I'm sure, though, once you figure it out, it's not going to be overly difficult. But yeah, there is a learning curve to actually getting people in your game. And it really doesn't feel like it should be that way. I mean, it should be a little bit more intuitive, a little more streamlined to actually get your friends in. And maybe it will be that way when the game is actually released. Again, we are talking about the beta here. But yeah, it just didn't necessarily feel great trying to get people, trying to get Lion into the game. So I'd say, too, at least with what we did see, the monsters are kind of more annoying than fun, especially the bosses, like the bigger ones. So the one that we're encountering now, man, he ran away a lot. I mean, a lot. You'd fight him for anywhere from, 2, 3, 4 minutes, and then he'd be taken off again. And then on top of that, there's also groups now. So there's the alpha, of course, and then there can be betas as well. So then you got to work through all of these enemies, and all of the betas also go with the alpha as well. So during my playthrough, we kind of worked on taking down some of the betas so that we could just focus on the alpha and actually get some good damage going. But man, with all three of them, it was pretty brutal to actually try to get combos in, to try to get multiple hits in, to try to actually hit the one we were trying to hit to begin with, or the certain location we were trying to hit. And it was just really kind of frustrating and busy. And it kind of also just made it feel more like a slugfest than actually kind of being tactical with your swings and stuff. It was just, yeah, it was kind of a little more frustrating. And that in and of itself was kind of a bummer. Let's talk too about performance issues during the beta, which you might be able to see some of it here, but certainly in some sections, man, there were shader issues, there were frame drop issues, the resolution doesn't necessarily look great. There are also some lost frames during the gameplay, and man, this was, which you won't necessarily probably be able to retell that because I'm I've put this through an upscaler for improved resolution and also doubling the frame rate. So, but yeah, as you can see right now, like there's some shader issues and twitches there, and it's not just like it's a certain section or area, it's like across the entire landscape that you actually see that, especially in bigger open world areas. There wasn't really a lot of texture pop in, but that was a little bit of an issue as well. So yeah, there's just a lot of problems with this, and I understand, but Tread, it's a beta. Like, I understand that, but it shouldn't have this many issues because it's the same assets, it's the same engine, it's designed with the same team. And while there should be some issues, they definitely want to put their best foot forward. And this beta is not it, unfortunately. And by the time you're listening to this, the beta is already over. This was available for a couple of weekends, and I'm sure a lot of people did actually play it. But yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in just the performance quality of the beta itself, because it doesn't get me too excited for what the actual game is going to be, or how many patches we're going to have, or how many bugs and glitches that we're going to have at the beginning of the game. So while I am glad there isn't going to be any early access, it is going to be kind of annoying to have day one, and like the game's going to definitely need some fixes. And that's kind of every game anymore. And of course, we kind of expect that. But it does get frustrating when we're paying $70 for these games, or kind of like the roadmap DLC stuff that we got to saw during the PlayStation State of Play. Because now we're paying, $90, $100. Like, these games are getting really expensive, and they just don't seem optimized very well. PC is definitely the worst. There's already been some people talking about this on PC of just issues with the resolution, issues with frame rates, even with 30 series cards, they're struggling to stay at around 35 frames per second on their PCs, and their PCs aren't no slouches. And but yeah, this is just another issue. It doesn't seem optimized very well on PC whatsoever. And then the frame rate overall just isn't great. I also worry about Series S for those that are going to maybe try to be playing on that with this. And yeah, maybe don't. If this is kind of how the beta is, and again, I really hope I'm wrong on this, but this was kind of a frustrating beta and was not the type of hype or excitement that like previous Monster Hunters have had. So yeah, overall, that's basically it. But this is like kind of another big AAA type of game, and I just feel like it under delivers. Lion thinks that too, and this does run on the RE engine, but man, there's some definite optimization issues with the beta. And I hope I'm wrong about the game, but it is just kind of a mess. So our advice is wait for a sale, wait for some actual reviews after launch, and watch several of those. But yeah, personally, we don't think this game is going to be exactly the hype that it's lended itself to over the last couple of years. And, it's just more Monster Hunter. Think of it as like a really, really big DLC where you actually have something to write on now, which is nice. But I don't know. It's still going to be something to play, but I don't think it's going to be a 10 or a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. Maybe an 8 out of 10 for some people. But I think a lot of people are going to find it probably around like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 ultimately for the whole experience. So with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. And hey, if you have a different opinion or didn't like the video, hey, go ahead and dislike it. That's okay. You can leave your frustration down in the comments, or too, if you've tried it, let us know what you thought about it. And also maybe too, some of you also agree with this. Get the conversation going downstairs in the comments, because I really think that's what's most important about the gaming industry, is that we actually take time to talk about it. So if you're interested in more stuff like this, you can sub to the channel, of course, at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. You can also follow me over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. And I take time to pretty much do everything there. Everything gets put there first, of course, and then I use the VOD files to put them over at YouTube. And yeah, we also do gaming news and deep dive reviews. We just did one on PlayStation, which was like an hour and 20 minutes. The video's quite long, but it's out there. And then, yeah, there's playlists of two out there on YouTube for you to be able to get around and be able to find stuff a little bit more easily. So with that, folks, we'll see you guys on the next one.